Scotland's marine environment is one of the richest and most breathtaking in the world. From rugged cliffs to remote islands, it is teeming with life. A haven for countless creatures that call our coastline home. The Firth of Forth, just a stone's throw from Edinburgh on Scotland's east coast, is no exception. Home to hundreds of thousands of seabirds during the summer months, this area is a safe haven for marine wildlife. From the crackling cries of fulmar, to the cascading flights of kittiwakes, the emerald glint of shags, to Bass Rock, the world's largest colony of northern gannets. These islands are alive with birds as wild as the waters that they call home. Among these birds, few are as iconic and as beloved as the puffin. With their clumsy, clownish charm and bright, colourful beaks, puffins are one of the best known and best loved animals in Scotland. They spend most of their lives out at sea, returning to land to nest in burrows each spring. But beneath their cheerful appearance lies a story of survival. At the turn of the century on Craigleith, something was going wrong. Puffin numbers were falling, and fast. It became clear that these seabirds, once thriving, were in trouble. That's when the community decided to act. That's when SOS Puffin was born.
What does it look like? It's not easy to describe it. It's a monster plant, and it's almost more like a tree in some ways. It has a lilac-coloured flower, quite a pretty flower. So it's quite a nice plant, really. But in the wrong place, it can cause problems. Tree mallow was introduced onto the Bass Rock, we think, because of the soldiers in the fortress valued it as a medicinal plant. And then after the war it spread onto Craigleith. For some years it was regarded as a novelty, in fact, because it's such an impressive plant. And people even came out to Craigleith to look at tree mallow rather than to control it. But I think by the turn of the century people were getting really quite worried. It was spreading rapidly, and it was obviously beginning to affect the puffin population. So it was around that time, I think, that people felt that something ought to be done.
It was fast, it was a jungle. I came out here and it must have been 2002, 2003, and it was a forest. I walked through this forest and I realised quickly then, this is why we're not starting to see the puffins. So I think it was trying to get the community involved. What can we do about the mallow? So that was really the birth of SOS Puffin.
SOS Puffin is a collaborative conservation project led by the Scottish Seabird Centre, which began in 2007 after lots of conversations in the local community and with landowners and other conservation organisations around how to tackle the problem of tree mallow on our local islands, which was threatening the puffin populations by growing invasively out of control and choking the islands so that the puffins couldn't nest successfully.
Well, the whole idea about tackling the tree mallow is to stop its spread in the future as well as getting rid of it in the present. And the mallow produces seed in its second year of growth, so that the aim of the project is to stop it from producing that seed. To do that, we need to cut it before the seed sets and spreads into the soil.
The ongoing challenge we have with SOS Puffin is not just trying to clear the plants before they go to seed, it's the existing seed bank in the soil. So this seed bank exists from when the island was totally covered in tree mallow and lots of seeds would be dropped each year. And unfortunately for us, those seeds survive an awfully long time. So they're just waiting for the right conditions to pop up and come through.
Trials are carried out by Aberdeen University, led by Professor Rennie van der Waal, in order to find out what was the most effective way of controlling tree mallow, and that cutting it close to the ground was the right way to do it, and that's what we've tried to do ever since.
Because of the vast spread of it in the early days, we used petrol brush cutters to cut extensive spreads of the mallow.
Brush cutting a swathe is just such fun. You really feel like you've cleared so much in a day. This jungle just started to disappear around you.
In the later days of the project, it was almost entirely use of loppers. Again, cutting it close to the ground, stopping the tree mallow from growing, stopping it from producing seed.
A work party is basically a whole group of volunteers who sign up to help us out with the project, and we head out in groups of 12 to the islands on a boat, and we spend the day tackling tree mallow and having a chat and eating biscuits and having a cup of tea, but the aim of the game always is to clear as much tree mallow as possible and to leave the island in a better state than we found it.
People volunteer, have volunteered for this for quite a few different reasons. Mostly it's like-minded people who love to get out into the open air and do something for nature.
Well, I think if you're sitting here looking at this, why not? I mean, this is wonderful. You come out to an island for a day. It's opening your eyes to a problem and perhaps conservation issues and what goes behind the scenes. But you're also seeing the wildlife. You're meeting lots of lovely people for a start. You're achieving something, particularly in the early days where you could go out and you could cover just a small area and it was like, I've just chopped a forest down, you know, and it was fabulous.
Well, I'm not sure there are many perks. Hard work, but that's perhaps not a perk. Lunch, that's a highlight usually of the work party. But obviously to enjoy getting out, the views, the wildlife, and also I think the meeting other people and perhaps making friends and learning about wildlife and conservation.
The perks of volunteering are to be involved in a project that think that you can see is beneficial to the wildlife in the area. And everybody loves a puffin. They're up against so many problems at the moment, this being one of them in this local area, and it's just nice to be part of that project and get a good feeling out of it at the end of the day.
And I think one of our oldest volunteers, Margaret, who was in her 80s, still coming out here, and she'd just be litter picking away. We didn't have to tell her, she just went off and did it, and it was wonderful. Everybody brought something, I think, and that was what was lovely.
It's a great project and it's great to be working together on it because I think working collaboratively is such an important thing in all conservation, including seabird conservation. So yeah, the more people work together, then the better the projects, I think.
SOS Puffin is a really collaborative project. So it's led by the Scottish Seabird Centre, but a whole load of individuals and organisations have contributed to the project over the years. So that includes the landowners, it includes RSPB Scotland, who we work with very closely on Fidra Island, it includes the Scottish Royal College, and it includes the Lothian Sea Kayak Club, who we work with on the Lamb. They take tools out to the island, they have an annual cake competition out there, and they also tackle an awful lot of tree mallow whilst they're at it.
The island has changed an awful lot over the 18 years at the moment, I think it is, the project's been running. And the mallow was growing up to about 2 metres high, made it very difficult to actually get from one side of the island to the other. And that looks nothing like that now, as you can see behind me.
The project has been hugely successful, so a lot has been achieved to date. For example, on Craigleith, when the project began in 2007, more than 80% of the island was covered by tree mallow. And today, coverage is around 5 or 6%. So that's made a huge difference for the puffins, and it's allowed them to bounce back on the island from what we think was kind of less than 1,000 pairs when the project began to more than 5,000 pairs on the island today. All of that progress is thanks to more than 1,300 volunteers who have taken part in the project to date, and they have completed over 350 work parties on the island since the project began.
It's been fairly successful, I think it's fair to say, particularly here on Craigleith. But it's going to need continuing effort, I think, for some years to come. So what I hope is that we're able to keep on top of the tree mallow that keeps coming back, even if it's only in a small way, so that it makes sure that it doesn't get back to the awful state it was in 20 years ago.
I mean, it would be fantastic if at some point we don't have to come out anymore, although I would obviously miss the trips, as I'm sure the volunteers would. Ideally, you'd want nature to be able to just manage itself like it usually does. So if we manage to eradicate it, that would be amazing.
It's quite hopeful. It shows that normal people can make a really big difference for wildlife if we pull together and if we keep going over a long period of time. You know, change is possible, and these kind of smaller success stories, I think, are really important.
And for me, I think it's, goodness me, every person who's been here cut one stem of mallow. Look what you've done. Look at this island now. And that's the main thing. It's been a real community thing.
Thanks to SOS Puffin, ordinary people giving up their time for free have brought these fragile habitats back to life. But the story is far from over. Puffins, along with many of Scotland's seabirds, are in steep decline. The climate crisis, unsustainable fishing practices, marine developments, and pollution threaten not only their food supply, but the delicate balance of the marine world they depend on. Urgent, bold action is needed to save our seabirds and our oceans before it's too late. Yet in the face of this urgency, there is a powerful message in the work of SOS Puffin. That when people come together and when nature is given a chance, recovery is possible. The fight to save Scotland's seabirds is not just about conservation, it's about connection to the wild places we treasure, to the lives that share our shores, and to one another. And in that connection, there is still hope.